item number 11. Okay. Job?
Again, staff does not have a report on this, but we're open for questions.
Okay, so this is this is having to do with the agreement that we've been negotiating with LAFCO for the better part of a year. It's been a while getting to this point, and I think that we're at a comfortable spot where we're at with that. But we do have some people from the public wishing to address us, so we'll start off with Councilmember Marcus Bush. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Urtasun, commissioners, staff, members of the public. My name is Marcus Bush, and I serve on City Council in National City. So here in support of item number 11. But before I get into that, congratulations to the CEO, outgoing CEO, Randa Coniglio, on all of your work, on you getting to retire and just enjoy life. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to outgoing Chair Urtasun, and looking forward to working with the incoming CEO, Scott Chadwick, as well as incoming Chair Danielle Moore. 2024 has definitely had a year of challenges, of growth for all of us. Like I say, for me personally, for the city of National City as an organization, and the port as well. And I think that, there's been conflicts, there's been disagreements, there's been uncomfortable conversations at times. But I think it's necessary for us as public agencies to grow, to be more transparent, to be more accountable to one another, to be more accountable to the public, and to work together to talk through those conflicts. And I really appreciate, I think this item is a part of that. So really appreciate you guys' work on that. And I look forward to 2025. I think this item with LAFCO, it is a huge step. LAFCO is an independent agency that I have experience working with as a consultant. So they specialize in municipal service reviews. So everything from police, fire, parks, water, sewer services. And I really think that can be an asset for the port, especially for us as we in National City enter into negotiations and discussions with the port and trying to determine what is the most fair amount for reimbursements, or for how we determine public safety, public services. And even though this is, if you guys approve this item, it's going to take some time for LAFCO to work with you all and do the full analysis on the MSR, I think it's really going to be a worthy step for us in the long run. So one proposed change I would have, and I don't have specific language, but on the stakeholder and outreach group, in terms of the working waterfront, they're a critical component and stakeholder for that, especially representing the business groups. I would recommend and ask that you all also be inclusive in expanding that. So whether, particularly, I would like to see representatives from our police and fire, since so much of this is about police and fire services, and really our police and fire, they're the experts on determining the methodology and everything else associated with that. So, but I wouldn't want to just restrict them if it's community groups too. I think being more inclusive is better. It's definitely longer. It's definitely more work to convene bigger groups. But in the end, I think you're going to be more pleased with the product because it's representing so much diverse stakeholders. So that would just be my request. But thank you all. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you guys tomorrow. And just in general, look forward to 2025. I think it's going to be a great year. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, Randy Castle-Salgado. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. My name is Randy Castle-Salgado, a proud resident of National City, and I'm here to advocate for an important amendment to the MOU concerning the composition of the stakeholder group for the inaugural MSR. The San Diego Port has taken positive steps towards improving its relationship with National City, and I applaud these efforts. However, the MSR is an opportunity to solidify that relationship by ensuring inclusive representation that reflects the diversity and unique needs of all of the member cities. Currently, the stakeholder group is heavily weighted towards the San Diego working waterfront, and while their expertise is valuable, a broader range of perspectives from National City and other member cities is critical to ensuring equity and transparency, and should include voices from boards and commissions such as planning, civil service, and public safety commissions, as well as community members and labor representatives from police and fire. For years, National City has faced inequitable revenue sharing from the port, leaving us underfunded and unprepared for challenges like the January flood. The recent lawsuit following the January floods underscores the need for systemic change. A more inclusive MSR process can pave the way for fairer resource allocation, ensuring that cities like National City can adequately fund vital services and infrastructure. This is essential not only for our community safety, but also for fostering long-term trust between the port and member cities. To address these concerns, I propose the following amendment to number 9F. If the port agrees in writing, LAFCO agrees to make available a stakeholder group for purposes of ongoing consultation in preparation for the inaugural Municipal Service Review, MSR. This group will include representatives from the following entities, each represented equally to ensure a comprehensive range of perspectives. Board members of the San Diego Waterfront Association, members of the boards and commissions from the 5 member cities, including but not limited to Planning Commission, Civil Service Commission, and Public Safety Commission, officers or designated delegates for the police and firefighters unions, and community residents concerned about municipal services. As a National City resident and a National City Planning Commissioner with expertise in planning, real estate, property management, and as a graduate of the San Diego Port Academy, I offer my skills to serve as a member of this stakeholder group. My experience and deep connection to National City uniquely positions me to contribute meaningfully to this process. This amendment is more than a procedural adjustment. It's a chance to demonstrate the port's commitment to equity, inclusivity, and building stronger partnerships with all cities. I urge you to seize this opportunity to advance fairness and transparency in port governance. Thank you all for your time in considering this critical amendment.
Thank you. Liliana Armenta.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I come before you today as a resident of National City and as a planning commissioner, and I am here to strongly advocate for an essential amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding concerning the composition of the stakeholder group for the inaugural Municipal Service Review, MSR. A strategic goal of the MOU that I read here is a port that the public understands and trusts. I am the public, and I want to understand so I can trust. With that, there needs to be an inclusivity in the stakeholder representation. The current stakeholder group primarily includes the San Diego Waterfront Association, but to truly reflect our diverse community and to ensure that all voices are heard, it is imperative to broaden this representation. I urge the board to adopt an amendment, such as the one that our Planning Commissioner Randy Castle just mentioned, to ensure that representatives from the 5 member cities, boards, and commissions are all included equally. The diversity is crucial for a comprehensive and equitable approach to port governance. The amendment is fundamental and a step towards ensuring our port operates with transparency, accountability, inclusivity as it promises. Thank you for considering this. That will positively impact the lives and safety of all our community members.
Thank you. Mr. Dorsett.
Thank you. William Dorsett here again. I'm here to discuss this agenda item on oversight with the port. For one, I agree this is a good idea. I'm also agreeing with everyone else that there needs to be an amendment to this agenda where there are more stakeholders. Let me explain why. I don't think it's wise or fair to allow only the Working Waterfront, formerly the Port Tenants Association, to be part of the Oversight Committee. As I addressed during non-agenda public comment, the Working Waterfront is a big influence on how the port overregulated First Amendment protected activities. I believe even if there is currently no corruption between the Working Waterfront and the port, that allowing the port tenants to be oversight would be setting up a situation where corruption could exist. As the Working Waterfront is mostly big corporate tenants within the port district and do not have public interest as their main goal. I feel as if the port was to have stakeholders as oversight, then alongside the Working Waterfront should be other stakeholders in the port, including a couple of representatives for protective expressive activity in the harbor, a representative of the pedicab businesses in the harbor, a representative for the vendors in the harbor, a representative for people who lives in the boats in the harbor. I also believe an officer and a fire department agent should be also on that board for oversight. It is my belief that the Oversight Committee should be doing a deep audit on the port and its activities to ensure that the board, the COO, and the staff are working for the good of the public and not just their own gains. Again, I believe that allowing the working waterfront to be the only oversight would be disastrous and leave ample room for corruption. I'm also offering to be a representative of the protective expression in the port. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And Edward Nieto.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Nieto. I'm a long-term National City resident. Excuse me, I'm not a public speaker, so.
You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. But I have a few things to say. The issue here is the amendment. It reminds me of the county model. The public's good is the noblest good. It's the noblest motive. What you have here before you is a motion to amend the MOU concerning the stakeholders group in composition. As all people who preceded me, they were very articulate in describing why there's a need to do that. In terms of today's environment right now, trust is an underlying factor. So listening and expanding the group who provides input is a step in the right direction in developing the trust. And that's what we need. That's what the community needs. I want to say that National City, unfortunately, the last couple of years has been tremendous political discussions and concerns we've had with trust. But I think you're all taking the right step in the right direction. With our new port commissioner from the community, I think he's a great person to install the trust. I also think that our council members, Marcus Bush and Luz Molina, they've given the motion and put the trust in, given the public, the National City citizens, a hope for the trust to be installed, especially here in the Port Commission. Okay, what I want to also say that, National City continues to suffer from inadequate funding, and this is a glaring spotlight in what we've had in terms of our January flood scenario we had down in National City. The repercussions of underfunding are so severe that the businesses in National City have felt compelled to file a lawsuit against the city and the Port Authority. That's not good. Lawsuits address the lack of critical response capable, a dire situation that could have been mitigated had the city been historically compensated fairly for the monies that hopefully that there's coming forth if we come forth next year. The proposed amendment allows the port to direct LAFCO to share the draft, and I think that's a great thing, and diversifying the stakeholders. This is a vital change to the MOU. It shows that you're willing to operate in good faith in the stake of transparency and accountability and inclusiveness. What I want to also say, this is, again, I'm starting off with the idea that the public's good is the noblest motive. And I think supporting this and voting this will show that the port is willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Cloward?
Good afternoon, Chair Tass and Commissioners. Just wanted to say that it's critical for the working waterfront to participate in this MOU. We're hooked at the hip. We do well, you do well, and you need to hear from the tenants if there are things that are going to make so the port can't even do the improvements and stuff that you guys are supposed to do under your Port Act. So to think that there's corruption that's being opposed on that, there would be no corruption. I think that we bring the intelligent people to the table. When we had met with the head of LAFCO, one of the things that he told us was that, we're only going to look at this every 5 years and such. It's not going to really have an impact on the port at all, or its tenants. It'll actually give the tenants more input to the port of what should be done. That's what we were told when we met with Mr. Keenan at the board meeting. But I will just tell you, I will argue for our tenants to be involved. It is critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have a voicemail?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This message is in regard to consent agenda item number 11, MOU between LAFCO and San Diego Unified Port District for 2024-426. My name is Paul Wapnowski, and I'm a longtime resident of National City and chair of the National City Civil Service Commission and a teacher at Sweetwater High School. I am in strong support of the amendment to the MOU concerning the stakeholder group composition for the inaugural draft municipal service review. This amendment means everything as we fight to get genuine governance at the port so that the needs of our diverse communities are met. National City continues to suffer from inadequate funding distributions, which was glaringly spotlighted during the January floods. The repercussions of this underfunding were so severe that businesses in National City felt compelled to file a lawsuit against the city and the Port Authority. The lawsuit addresses the lack of critical response capabilities, a dire situation that could have been mitigated if the city had been historically compensated fairly. Fair compensation would ensure that sufficient resources are available to effectively manage emergencies. And NC residents deserve competent emergency management. And with a revision to the current revenue sharing model, the city can provide it along with other essential services. The narrow scope of the current stakeholder group is appalling. The proposed amendment will allow the port to direct LAFCO to share a draft inaugural MSR with a diverse range of stakeholders. And this is vital. This is a vital change to the MOU that shows that you're willing to operate in good faith for the sake of transparency, accountability, and inclusivity. Thank you for considering this much needed change that will positively impact the lives of all our community members. And happy International Human Rights Day. Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Ann Moore.
Yeah, I was just wondering if maybe we could get some input from staff as to the reason why this provision reads as it is, because it is kind of curious.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things that I'd like to start with is does this prohibit
No.
LAFCO or the port from rolling this out to the public in general?
Yeah.
To be able to give input on this?
Yeah, let me take a kind of a step back, because I think that will help kind of give flesh to, I think, a misperception that is created about this one provision. So, as was mentioned, this has been an agreement that has been negotiated over the course of about a year between multiple parties, including us and LAFCO, but also with some input from the State Lands Commission, right? Because there was questions about jurisdiction along those lines. There is nothing within this provision that is exclusive to the Port Tenants Association as being the only stakeholder on this. Matter of fact, LAFCO has a long-established process where they reach out to a lot of different stakeholders, including many of the ones that were mentioned here today as being part of this amendment. Because of the unique nature of the port, because of our unique relationship with our tenants, that is a group that might not be included in terms of LAFCO's normal process because we have a unique relationship in terms of the business community. So LAFCO requested that piece be put in there, and that we make sure, because of conversations that they had with the port tenants, that they wanted to assure that the port tenants would be included in their stakeholder outreach. It was not meant to be exclusive by any stretch. Again, all of the groups that were mentioned are probably groups that LAFCO would reach out to. Obviously, now that this has been put on the record, we'll sit down and talk with LAFCO and make sure that, that they are aware of this conversation so that they can, as they're building their plan for 2026, I just want to point out that the MSR is probably not going to happen this next year, but probably will be in 2026, that when they do their exhaustive stakeholder outreach, that those groups are included. So it was not that we put this in here and said we just want to talk to the port tenants. It's really just to make sure that the port tenants are not excluded, not that anybody else is excluded. And I will just close by saying this on the context is that this, as I started, this is a negotiated agreement. So any changes that we have to make, we can't unilaterally just decide that we're going to accept those changes, we would have to go back to LAFCO and get them to accept those changes as well.
So can I understand this agreement's already been accepted by LAFCO
It
per
has.
this wording?
Yeah, they took this item up first. We wanted to give you all a chance to have the last voice in this process. They took this up this week on Monday, last Monday, actually, at their board meeting and approved this amendment. So we'd have to go back in and say, we want to change it now.
And then can I ask, is there statutory requirements that they reach out to the other sort of stakeholders that would be involved? I'm thinking basically the member cities and in particular.
Hi, Rebecca Harrington for the record. I don't believe there's a statutory requirement, but Keene, their executive director, assured us that they reach out. And I think even Job had a conversation with him yesterday, that they reach out to a wide variety of stakeholders. And I also just want to clarify, it's not an oversight committee.
Well, I was just going to add that. It's not. It's a stakeholder.
No, it's
which
a
is-
stakeholder
yeah.
group.
I think one speaker referred to it. I guess I'm just wondering, it just seems kind of odd to me that I get the fact that everybody's going to reach out to everybody. But I guess it's just curious that there's only one particular entity that's named. And so I can understand sort of the concern that's been raised by some of the speakers.
Absolutely. My understanding is this provision came out of actually Keene's meeting, Sharon, with your group, where he represented that I want you to be a group of stakeholders, not to the exclusion of others, but that he was going to propose this.
Yeah, but they're the only ones that are guaranteed, I guess. And that's a little bit
If
troubling.
we agree in writing.
Oh, okay. So if we don't agree in writing,
Yeah,
we're
we'll-
still consistent with the agreement, right? And then we can basically still go forward with the language. But then we would be able to perhaps propose a stakeholder outreach program that's more inclusive?
Yes, we absolutely could. We have a lot of, the difference between this and a lot of other folks who enter an MSR is that we have a voice in this process. And so I think we will have a tremendous amount of opportunity to provide that input as they get ready to launch this MSR process. And we've also built in some extra time before that MSR launches so that we have some time to talk about what that stakeholder outreach may be like as we get ready to do that.
Because it's not so much I'm asking to freeze out the working waterfront, I'm not saying to exclude them, but it just seems like by just including them, I mean, I would have a concern with it as well.
Yeah, it's a weird artifact of the agreement, I agree, in terms of how it was written, and it really was written not to be exclusive. As I mentioned, it was written to make sure that one group felt like they weren't being excluded, but in the process of doing that, they may have made others feel like they were being excluded, which was not the
Sure
intent.
does. I mean, if they just added something including but not limited to the,
Yeah.
then that would have been okay. Anyways.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody's real clear. All those people that spoke here today, the expressive artists, the representatives from National City, law enforcement, everybody's, they're a stakeholder in this. They're going to get notified, they're going to have an opportunity to weigh in on this. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
and
saying?
We will make sure that that is the case when we get ready to launch the
Thank you.
MSR.
Commissioner Ogab?
Yeah, just looking, I know you guys been working on this. Sorry, I know you've been working on it for a year, for a long time. And can we add a condition that, not amending the contract, but just add a condition that we agree to include the other groups that we've discussed today?
I don't know how, I would refer to Tom and Rebecca, I don't know how we do that without amending the MOU, which means going back to them, but I'm sure that we could, as part of our board action, say that it's our intent in the future when this comes forward to try and do that.
Yeah, there are two things going on here. One is the board's authorization to enter into the MOU with LAFCO. The other is our resolution authorizing that and indicating the factual background and the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. Commissioner Ungab's idea is to make it a part of the resolution that the board has, so it's binding upon us, and it'd be our obligation pursuant to the approval that's granted today to do outreach to the groups that were mentioned.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to add. Thank you, Tom.
That's
No,
perfect.
no, that's perfect. We'll add it to the resolution and make sure that gives some comfort to those others that are not included. Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, can I just, final sort of word, I'm not necessarily also saying, there was a long list, I think, that of groups to, participate. And I'm not necessarily saying that, but I do feel like there should be, at least member cities, and maybe they can pick who they want, or, in other words, it doesn't have to be, I'm not advocating necessarily the long list, I think, that was suggested. But there has to be outreach and other stakeholders.
We could maybe amend the resolution to say, staff is committed to an extensive outreach process that includes our member cities and other groups that our member cities might identify.
Perfect. Okay, any other questions? Any thoughts? Commissioner Varkra?
I'll make a motion to approve with the amendment that has been put forward.
Onto the resolution.
On the
A second
resolution.
by Commissioner Ongab. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner D. Moore excused.
Thank you, and thank you all for everybody's input on this thing. We heard you loud and clear. Okay,